I appreciate the warm introduction. Great to be here. Thanks to Kevin and Brady for inviting me. I don't know if my slides are available or not. Looks like they are not, so I will try and talk to this. But I thought I would start with the big question everyone always seems to have when we talk about like AI, emerging technology. What does that mean for our communities? And the best way I could probably start this off is, I saw this billboard in Los Angeles, and it said, it says, AI robots cannot take your job if you're retired. You know, it's like Prudential, help you plan for retirement. And I'm looking at this going like, are we just giving up? Right? Is that what we're really looking at? So how many people here have the question, will AI take my job? I only see a couple of hands. You guys are feeling pretty good then, right? I know. I thought I would get started and get my slides up. It'd probably be helpful. But that's the biggest question that I always hear from people today is, will AI take my job? And the truth is, the answer is probably no. It's the person using AI that's taking the jobs. Right? I liken it to farmers. When the tractor came out, people thought it would be the end of farmers. It wasn't. It just meant that one farmer could actually do the work of 10 farmers. So do we need less farmers? Not necessarily. Since I'm in DC, my apologies to anyone in the legal profession, but I'm going to pick on lawyers for a second. Legal services is the second slowest moving industry I've ever seen. There's a company started by 3 lawyers, 3 people of color, no technical knowledge, and they were thinking about what could I do with AI? And they built an AI associate lawyer. So they're defense litigators. So if someone sues you, they file a complaint. Their AI reads the complaint, fills out the corresponding court documents, files a counter-complaint if necessary, starts sharing deposition questions, some initial case research, does the work of what an experienced social lawyer about 3 years does, take that human lawyer about 10, 12 hours to do, the AI does in 2 minutes. Does that mean we need less lawyers? Sadly, the answer is no. Right? What they've done is the associate lawyers don't do a lot of the admin work like that anymore. They can actually repurpose them for more valuable work, focused more on meeting with clients, jury selection, formulating case strategy, practicing arguments against opposing counsel with judges, doing business development or rainmaking much earlier in their careers. And so that's what we're actually seeing. We're seeing improved access to a degree to some services. There's a company called Ant Financial that does microloans. So they're primarily based in Asia, Africa, and parts of Europe. But if you need a small loan, they have a system they call 310. 3 minutes for the applicant to fill out the loan application, 1 second to do the approval decision, 0 human interactions. Right? So they made access to capital for small businesses much more accessible. So, I mean, this stuff sounds good. I'm just going to play a short video, but I don't have my slides just to show you some of these things. But there are 2 big challenges here that we got to account for. One, can we actually be drivers of this innovation? Right? Do we have the knowledge, the tools, the infrastructure to do a lot of this work? The second is, do we actually have access to this if we don't have that infrastructure? So if you think about it, to use some of these tools today, you need high-speed internet, you need the proper computing power, you need smart devices. Does everyone have access to that?
Not everyone, because there's a digital divide.
That's right, thank you. We live in a digital divide. What we're finding is that divide is rapidly growing because of these tools. The UN, we've actually estimated that about 2.2 billion people in the world do not have access to the internet. Think about that for a second. Do not have access to the internet. In the United States, 12% of Americans do not have access to the internet. 12%. I mean, you're talking close to 40 million people. 1 out of 5 US households do not have internet access at home. Right? If they try and get internet access, they're going to like the public library or they're going to some place that has free Wi-Fi. 16% of people in the United States do not have access to a smart device. Think about how many of you guys have a smart device? What would you do without it? Suffer. Right? What do people without these things do? If you remember during the pandemic, we had a shortage of toilet paper, cosmetics, all these things. We actually had a shortage of laptops. There were school children that could not do their schoolwork because they didn't have access to a computer or a smartphone. They can't use Zoom, They were trying to use little flip phones. I teach part-time at UC Berkeley and UC Irvine, it's the University of California system. When they sent all the employees home, 18% of them didn't have a computer at home. They couldn't work from home because they didn't have a computer. So forget about trying to use AI or the metaverse or some of these things. How do we do this without the infrastructure? And that's one of the biggest hurdles that we have. In the UN, we have an initiative called Greater Connectivity. It's number 2 priority for the UN after climate change. We're just trying to get the basic infrastructure, that basic access to every person in the world because of the digital divide. You cannot advance, you cannot get some of these jobs. Look at some of the countries like Malawi, where manual labor is the norm. You can't even upskill the people because they don't have the infrastructure to actually do it. So when you talk about losing opportunity, how many of you guys are ready for, sorry.
Because I'm excited about what you're saying as an educator, and so the most detrimental part of the digital divide is with our young people. And the school system in a rural area versus the urban area face 2 very different digital divide issues. Pre-pandemic, it was an issue. During the pandemic, and everybody had to work from home, these young people suffered. And then after, now we wonder why the reading scores are even low, and because they didn't have access, right? And the reason why I'm bringing it up about the young people in the school, from daycare to K-12 to higher ed, is that those are the people who are going to be a part of the future. And so if they don't have the technological literacy or access or just the knowledge and the skills to use it, then how does AI look in the future if the youth grow up and they're not able to do the work? And so Keevan taught me a word, reskilling. So I just wanted to put that out there because it's a serious issue. And just my 2 cents, how do we hold the tech companies who made trillions during the pandemic financially responsible for changing and growing the classroom from a traditional one to a technological learning environment of the future? So I just put that out there because I know you're
No, I appreciate that, but I think you're preaching to the choir, and that's the big challenge that we have. We already know, and this has been benchmarked, a child that has access to an iPad at 2 years old versus one at 8 years old, that 2-year-old is much more primed for the future of work than the 8-year-old. Just the skills, the knowledge they learn just by playing around with an iPad at a younger age gives them a monstrous advantage.
Hi, my name is Janelle Leonard, and I have a strong background in technology, and I support what she said in terms of our young people needing access and training on technology. On the flip side of that, though, I also wanted to share with to address these issues. And there's a covered population that has been identified. So they are aging, veterans, incarcerated, low-income, middle-income households, disabilities. All of those are also in need of access to devices, to training. I mean, you think about telehealth, you think about online e-access, SNAP, TANF, all of those programs. So I just want to put that on the table as well.
No, I appreciate that, because I know when we talk about education, we think about kids more often, but you're absolutely right. I mean, I have a 91-year-old father-in-law that doesn't have a cell phone, right? He actually can't do a lot of things like telehealth or even look up information about what's covered under Medicare for him, because he doesn't have access to actually a smart device. Doesn't even know how to use it.
I guess my main question is, yes, my main question is, what's the pathway forward when certain groups are intentionally being left out? Because all the groups that this individual just listed, and as well as the lady over here, I think you have to get out of the notion of acting like that's not by design. The technological age that we are in now, as you stated before earlier, it's just more than separated the have versus have-nots by an exponential rate of speed. So I mean, I think the question is, we know the identity, we know the groups that are being left out. I think we have to come to terms with understanding it's intentional that these individuals are being left out. So how do we combat that?
It's a great question. It's a complex answer. The first thing is we have to get over our biased notions. I mean, you ask the big tech companies, like, well, we have all this free training out there, we have these things, but it's like, again, it requires high-speed access, high-speed internet access. It requires these special devices and tools that the average person I shouldn't say the average person, but a lot of people don't have, right? That's why we have to, the first and foremost thing is we have to provide the infrastructure. You look at Colombia, they're building fiber optic networks in the Amazon jungle. These little villages of like 70 people are getting access to incredible speeds. They're giving them smart devices and stuff so they have a chance to actually learn and use and be able to develop things for their communities, get access to education. But the first thing is the infrastructure. And that's the thing that most people don't want to address. The big tech companies are like, well, we'll give you free credits to use, Google Brain, or we'll use free credits to use ChatGPT or something. It's like, it doesn't matter. If I don't have access to the internet, I can't do anything about it. And that's the question that not enough people are asking yet. The honest truth is, if I didn't tell you those stats, would you have guessed those numbers? Yeah. That's good. The problem is most people look at what they have and how they live, and they think most people have access to the same things, right? I look at my kids, right? They went until they were about 12 or 13. They thought cell phones were free, right? They thought everyone had a cell phone. All their friends have cell phones. It's like, nope. And that's one of the barriers we have to break down. It's like, none of this stuff matters until first and foremost that infrastructure is actually there. The second thing is we need people from the community helping to educate and serve as the innovators on what we can actually do with this technology. Emerging technology, particularly AI, the best solutions, the best uses don't come from technologists, right? They come from people that are domain experts that understand what's going on. How many of you guys would let Elon Musk perform open heart surgery on you? How many of you let Mark Zuckerberg manage your retirement portfolio? Right? Why not? Right? They're not trained in those things. That's the thing. So why are we waiting for them to build the tools that we need? They don't even know what tools we need.
So, thank you. before there were like 22,000 emerging AI companies, and then when he sat before us, it was up to 23,000, and that was in November, right? So when I think about what you're just talking about in access and how do we weed through it all for our communities, ASU-GSB is coming up in a couple weeks, and like there's going to be literally trillions and trillions of dollars discussed, talked about. You know, it's going to somehow be way to the education sector, but we really do not center anything about our youth or our communities in these conversations. So what would you say to this audience around how do we basically get to the money? Because at the end of the day, if people are just capitalizing off the back of our children, and we're not investing any of those dollars back into those communities, we're just new colonizers. So, like, where do we get to that part?
So it's a great question. The honest truth is each one of you and your kids all that can actually be a driver in this industrial revolution and a passenger. You don't need to be a technologist, you don't need any of these things. We talk about the future of work and how we can monetize. The future lies in what we call hybrid intelligence. So it's not human versus machine, it's human using machine. Yeah, AI is good at like crunching a lot of numbers, doing all these calculations, but people are really good at creative thinking and handling first of kind situations. And so what we actually need to do to enable people is to teach them 5 skill sets. I'm going to tell you, unfortunately I don't have the slide, I'll tell you what the 5 skill sets are. But when I tell you these skill sets, think about how many of them we actually teach in our educational system, how many we actually train people for in the workforce. The first, problem solving. Right? That's what we're always working on is how do we solve problems. Second is the essential skills, or what a lot of people call soft skills. Communication, collaboration, facilitation, negotiation. Third is creative thinking, right? How do we innovate? How do we find a different way of doing the work? Because you can't just continually improve things. If I continually improve a candle, I can never get to a light bulb, right? So I got to teach people how to think different. Fourth is you have to understand technological capabilities. So how can you wield these tools? I don't have to understand how the hammer is made, but I have to understand how the hammer is used. And fifth is some domain to apply them into, whether that's finance, healthcare, marketing. That's it. That's going to cover the actual job, the specific responsibilities. Yeah, there are things to that, but those 5 skill sets will get you ready for any job that's going to be out there in the next 5 years, and probably for the next 20 years beyond that. How many of those skill sets do we actually teach in our systems? We teach some. Teach problem solving. Do
The highest level of learning, when we start with identification, we go off once, you go through organizing, synthesizing, evaluating, but the highest part is creation.
Yeah.
Okay, break it down.
I'm good at 25 years, right?
Yes, educate.
I'm gonna challenge the question. Where, right? Because it's about zip codes too, right? In certain places in the country, they're getting all of that. They're getting everything and more. But in other pockets of this country, by design or by circumstance, it's not. And so, again, how do we get to that access, that equity, those bad words? It's really challenging because they see the revolution happening. They see people getting that broadband access, getting those 5 skills. It's like, oh, you're coming for our piece. And we have to, yes, we want equity. We want to rebalance these scales that have been so tilted on the other side for so long.
I totally understand where you're coming from. It's not a simple solution. The most effective thing that I've seen is what we call community champions. We have people that will actually go into these communities, try and bring some of the knowledge, education, try and get people, particularly young people, jump-started in it so they can essentially build other champions for the community and do that. There's, sure.
There are a couple of things. Working in higher education is some of the most brightest and top kids in the United States. This is where I am. So, I said I work in higher education at a university where the best and the brightest, are there and leading in research and development, things of that nature. In terms of, access to technology, the ability to navigate it, there are top notch. But socially and emotionally, they're completely different.
like what's happening right now, and like just walking them through every day step. So there's a gap there, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is that mental health and physical health impacts in terms of like constantly interacting with all of this, technology, and I'm not an expert in that field, so I'm going to get into that more. The third thing is that when we talk about equity, right, and increasing access, if you look at like what just happened with ChatGPT and DeepSeek, that's open source AI. Why aren't we forming working groups to be able to look at how this technology was built out and get us in the conversation? We don't need anyone to, come and give us anything or usher to us, right? Like, it makes me think, I can't think of who the person who said the quote was, but it says, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So China just gave us an enormous gift. Whatever you think about them, whatever your political, orientation is, it's free. I don't know much about, AI, but I can even go and look at the open source. So there's no excuse for anyone in here not to be able to go and do that. And I think in terms of like being forward thinking and, being proactive and utilizing the resources that we have, each and every one of us can do that. And I'm just like, when? We have to stop complaining and look and see what's before us and figure it out. It's that simple.
So thank you. That's a very powerful point. One of the points I wanted to make, so thank you. Right? But we have some biases in ourselves. Anything that you hear around technology, what's our first reaction? Intimidation, difficult. We need to be a tech person to understand, right?
I mean, if I may, can you also speak to, I think there's like a lot of mystery around what AI is. It's just gathering information. That's it. It's gathering information. It's not the boogeyman sitting, you know what I mean? Like, it's just all these data centers and things of that nature. It's just basically gathering information. So just really demystifying it and, from that perspective, making it accessible. So if you could speak to that more, I think that would be helpful.
I can. So I got a little bit of time. So I'm going to try to make two quick points here to what you're talking about. One, I hate to say it this way, but in Western culture, we have an adversarial relationship with AI, right? Our movies, TVs, books, it's always human versus machine. We're special. We find a way to win. You look at Eastern culture, their movies, TVs, and books, they always see AI as a collaborator, as a tool for them to use. We look at the negative risks, the threats. They look at the positive risks, the opportunities. We need to learn to do both, right? As a problem, we have a lot of fear factor, so we're always skeptical. We're always worried about some of these things. The second point I really want to make is we should all definitely learn technological capabilities, how we at least apply AI, right? The best AI solutions come from domain experts. But AI, ironically, is the one tool that we can actually ask it how we can use it better or how other people could misuse it. It has that power. Try it. You go to ChatGPT, you don't get a great response, say, how can I make my prompt better to get a better answer? It will tell you, right? So I always tell people, and I know I'm almost out of time, so I'll kind of end on this note here, but happy to talk more with all of you later on. Don't think of AI as software, right? Don't think of it as just some sort of technology in the realm of Elon Musk. AI is a high-energy intern. It is ready to do whatever admin grunt work 24/7, help you accomplish your goals, but you have to teach it first. You have to teach it first, just like you would teach a person. So with that, I am out of time, but thank you. Can I take a question? All right.
No. With your permission, I'd like to share some information with the group here. You asked about real funding for devices. And so I just want to let you know that through the Department of Commerce, they made available $65 billion for funding for technology. Every state had to create a technology plan and then got funding. I'm just going to use the district of probably Maryland as an example. cybersecurity, and the rest. And so a focus is on making sure that they're protected online and then giving them access to e-government, e-civic, all of the necessary essential uses that the covered population will need. So my advice to you, a suggestion, is to look at your state, because all states have been awarded that money, and they're in the process of subgrading it. So be a voice, be at the table, and participate. So it really caters to nonprofits. And so I just ask you, the site that you can go to on Department of Commerce is called Internet for All. And when you look there, they have every state's plan there, they have their amount of funding that they receive, and then you can have the contact information. So, do yourself a favor, the money is there right now. So, go after it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Janelle.
All right, well, remember, hybrid intelligence, that's the future.
Yeah.
Right? People using AI.
1 second, his thoughts actually came up, but remember the 5 points?
Yeah, if you could go to the next slide. Next slide. One more. One more. These are the 5 skills. If you go to the last slide, we all have a leapfrog opportunity. If you go to the last slide, there's my contact info. If you want to talk, have questions, there's some resources on there. So if you want to learn about different things in the industries, tools, and then there's a QR code. If you scan that, you can give me a little feedback or get in touch with me as well. But thank you. I'll be around. Feel free to chat with me, and of course, I'll be here tomorrow. Thank you.